Whoa, y'all started recording quick.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good, good. I'm blowing on some J's for you, even though you can't see them. I'm putting them
Hello,
on
everyone.
for you.
Can you hear me?
I hear you, bro.
Oh, good. What a relief. Sincere
Yeah.
apologies, Stephen. We had some technical
No worries,
issues.
no worries.
We're
You
good
gave me
to go.
time to go put. You gave me time to go put my Jordans on and to put a little lotion on my hands because they're a little.
Good afternoon. My name is Jim Conlan, and welcome to today's episode of our entertainment show. As you know, in part 3 of our entertainment show each week, we premiere a new TV series or movie that is debuting here in Ireland and the UK, especially here in Ireland where Irish eyes are smiling. And up for discussion this week, it's, well, what can we say? Season 5 has come our way now of Magnum PI on channel Sky Max here in Ireland, and we're delighted to be joined by one of the stars of the show. He plays the character TC alongside an established cast that includes Jay Hernandez, Perdita Weeks, and Zachary Knighton. He's the one and only Stephen Hill. And Stephen, Magnum PI, such an iconic show. We all know Tom Selleck, Roger Mosley, Larry Manetti, what they did with such an iconic show, made it a foundation of TV sort of folklore. How do you feel now in your own version of Magnum PI? You're on to season 5 now. You've shot over 88 episodes of Magnum PI. Obviously, you've done something right in terms of the audience, the fan base. They kept wanting you back. Even when it was cancelled in 2020 by CBS, you were brought back, such was the demand for the show. Magnum PI, do you feel that you have found a target now? You found a home that we could see Magnum PI going on for 7, 8, even 9 seasons?
Well, I feel like first off, we got to thank the OG. That's what I like to call them, the OGs, the original cast of Magnum PI from the 80s, right? Without them, we wouldn't have had any opportunity to play these characters. You know, they laid the foundation, they blazed the trail for us. So we're very, very grateful for that. At least I know I am. And you know, in the beginning, we got a lot of pushback on that because people love the show so much that they were like, "Oh man, you can't remake a show like that. Like, leave it alone. Don't touch that." But I think that's how humans like to tell stories. We tell the same stories over and over. And I just hope I'm around the next iteration of Magnum PI. I hope to pass the torch on to another TC the way the original Roger E Mosley passed the torch on to me. So I think we have done a great job. And we had an amazing 5-season run. And who knows? Maybe we'll keep going. You never know.
I suppose before I get onto your own character, Stephen, TC, I suppose when you're sort of the character Jay Hernandez plays, Thomas Magnum, when you have to step into the shoes of someone like Tom Selleck, an icon in terms of acting, in terms of the character that he's created in Thomas Magnum as well. It must be daunting in one sense for Jay Hernandez, but he's managed to achieve that now that season 5, that we're seeing a different version. The people are now talking about Jay Hernandez's version of Thomas Magnum. Well, after all, starting off season 1 or season 2 is, well, Magnum, that's Selleck. Selleck, you know, everyone sees Magnum as Selleck. So how challenging was it for Jay at the start? And he must feel now that he's managed to accomplish that in one sense.
Well, I think Jay's done a great job. I would imagine way back in the days, a couple hundred years ago, that when Shakespeare was writing his plays, maybe the first couple of guys that did a Shakespeare play that played Romeo, first guy to play Romeo, people were like, "Oh, this new guy's trying to play Romeo? Nah, he can't play Romeo. This guy's the best Romeo we've ever seen in our lives." But here we are, years and years, over 100 years later, and we have multiple Romeos, and there are probably about 10 to 10,000 productions of Romeo and Juliet going on in the world right now. So that's just how we tell stories. And luckily, we had a great Magnum in Jay Hernandez, as well as a great Magnum in Tom Selleck. So we had two Magnums to watch now on TV. I think the more the merrier. Let's go for one more. Let's go for another Magnum in the next 30 years.
And I know Stephen, Larry and Roger, Lord bless his soul, when Roger was alive, and they did many casts, and they got you up and running in terms of the first season. They did guest appearances on the show, and they sort of came back to really start to kickstart the project. Such was their love for Magnum PI. And when you probably touch base with Roger Mosley for the first time, and you talked to him about the TC character, what did he sort of tell you, or what sort of inspiration did he give you in terms of, look, this is what TC has meant for me, this is what TC has done for my life?
Well, when I first reached out to him, he told me, he said, you know what, you don't even have a show yet. He said, call me when you get season 2, then you know you have a show. Right. So he wasn't super warm and fuzzy the first time I talked to him. But and that's to be expected, because you don't want somebody to just hand you the torch over really easily. Right. It's worth something. He was supposed to hold on to it like that and protect it and make sure. I don't know about this new guy. Let me see. And then after he saw that I did a great job of season 1, he passed that torch on to me. And he came on and helped us out, and he became a mentor of mine. And I miss him all the time. I think about him all the time. He would just randomly text me or give me a call and give me advice. So I absolutely took a lot of his advice in approaching the character, and just his advice of being a Black actor in an industry where at the time he came in, there were a lot of Black actors on TV, but a lot of them were doing comedy roles. And for him to come in and play this action hero was absolutely phenomenal. So to walk in his footsteps is an honor of mine.
I suppose every time someone plays a character, and a fictional character as such, they always want to put their own sort of twang, dare I say, their own sort of uniqueness in the character. And how did you feel that you wanted to make TC accustomed to Stephen Hill, in terms of not just copying and doing what's done before in the past? Now, Roger did a fantastic job, but every actor, you see the James Bond, everyone who plays James Bond, they all want to put their own sort of gloss or touch on it to say, yeah, well, that was Roger Moore's version of James Bond, or this is Daniel Craig's version of James Bond. So how did Stephen Hill wanted to make TC more accustomed to Stephen Hill?
Well, I think it all starts with the words on the page, right? Actors get a lot of the credit, but the writers, having a good relationship with the writers is paramount for me, right? Oh, Paramount Plus. See what I did there? Anyway, having that relationship with them is really important. And from day one, I got to talk to writers. They sat me at the table. I met everybody when I arrived to Hawaii, and I went to the cast dinner, right? 2 days before we started shooting the pilot. And I got there, I was the last person to get there. And so I had to sit at the end of the table, and I was sitting right next to one of the writers. And we talked and we talked and we talked, and a bunch of those things ended up in the show, right? They were things that my character was into. So I think it's all about having a good relationship with the writers, and you can personalize things. I personalized a lot of TC. So like the old TC, to give you an example, he went to Grambling University, right? And they wrote that into my script. And I was like, no, well, I went to an HBCU, right? I went to Hampton University. So my version of TC is a proud Hampton University graduate. I asked them to change that for me. They changed it. Then that led to me being from North Carolina instead of New Orleans, where the original TC was from. And my mother was from North Carolina. So we even weaved in a story where I went to the same high school as my mother, Hillside High School in North Carolina. So, you know, it was all about making little things like that personal to me. And so then when we get to like an episode like a 507, where you see the return of TC's mother, you know, I've already personalized the story of my mother. My actual mother is weaved in there somehow. And so when my TV mom comes in, it feels more natural for me.
And Stephen, probably you meant about subtle changes, but obviously this Magnum PI, it has one major change. Obviously in the original series, Higgins was a man. It was played by a sort of elderly sort of man. You've gone and sort of changed the pot in terms of that, depicting Higgins as a woman and depicting Higgins as a woman around the same age go as Jay Hernandez in terms of the character Perdita Weeks. And I suppose, first of all, people were looking on at that and said, "Oh, how's that going to work? That's bold. That's sort of that's something different." And people were probably a bit skeptical at first to say, "Oh, if it ain't broken, don't fix it." But the writers were brave. This was something that they had in mind, and I suppose as it's gone on, it's sort of worked, and as we've seen the chemistry, the bond, obviously not the physical sort of chemistry, but the working chemistry between Perdita and Jay. And do you think it would have been the same if they'd cast Higgins as a man in your series, or do you think it wouldn't have been as successful as it is?
I think honestly, I think it would have been successful if they would have cast TC as a woman. You know, I think it would have been successful either way. We're in the age of Aquarius now, which is the water bearer, which is where we're going to see more and more women come into positions of strength and power, and it's to be welcomed, and it's a beautiful thing, right? Like, it's nice to have a woman's touch on set, right? And Purdy is she's no pushover, you know. She's small, but she's really strong, you know. So it's nice to have her on set and to add in that the woman's chemistry to the mix of all these guys.
Yeah. Stephen, I take it from looking at you that you're a guy that's very active, that likes to be heavily involved in whenever you can to do your own sort of stunts. And in terms of Magnum PI, when they came to you in terms of some sort of stunts throughout the episode, were you just like, yeah, if I can do it, if you allow me to do it, pass me the torch? Or were you very much in terms of your stunt double, was there one or two things you said, no, let him in his safe hands in terms of his expertise? Or are you very much a guy that wants to get down and dirty in terms of doing what you can?
Well, I'm going to say this, right? It's a part of the Hollywood mystique, right? For actors to say, "Oh, I'm doing my own stunts," right? But just like we've come to this place where we want to respect writers, right? We also there's a conversation being had about respecting the stunt community as well, because those guys are incredible, right? We've had stuntmen on our set that have saved people's lives while doing their job, you know, because that's just what they do. They don't come to the job looking for accolades. They don't look for a pat on the back. They're just always trying to make sure everybody's safe and make sure we put the best product out there that we can for the fans and for our viewers. So I want to first give all respect due to the stunt community, right? I have an awesome stunt man. His name is Zedric Harris. And Zedric looks just like me. If you walk past him, you'd be like, wait a minute, is that Stephen Hill? I'm not sure, right? He looks just like me, but the few times he's come out, and I've had other stuntmen like Jalil J. Lynch come out, and he did some driving for us. So I can't drive as good as those guys, but I will say this: if I can do it, I will do it. I want to do it. I want to have fun. If I gotta fly around in the chopper, I'm doing it. If I get to ride a horse, I'm doing it. You know, so if there's a lot of footage of us riding around on horses, and you know, you can see my stuntman's doing some of it, but a lot of it maybe didn't make the edit. But I was on that horse. I could not wait to ride that horse. So that was something that me and Purdy had a nice bonding moment there, because she rides horses as well. She grew up riding horses in London, and so you know, she has her English riding, and I came in with my American cowboy stance, and we got to have a lot of fun in that episode.
Okay, Stephen, the second last question for you now. Obviously, Magnum PI is so important to the history and the people of Hawaii in terms of the original series being shot there. When you came back in terms of to shoot in Hawaii and the production, was that always the case? And what has been the response of the local people there shooting in Hawaii in terms of Magnum PI and the effect that it has? Or is there a great sense of excitement and thrill that Magnum PI is back where it belongs, the home of Hawaii? Because it's almost, you can never imagine Magnum PI being shot anywhere else but Hawaii.
Yeah, I probably, more so than a lot of my cast, I won't say that. I'll say some of us really like to get out in the community. I am definitely a community man. If I were in Ireland, I'd be all over the place, right? You know, you guys would be like, "Oh, there he is again." You know, I just like to get out in the community, and when you're out there, you learn that people appreciate these shows coming to the island, right? And sometimes they may not understand, but it's just a quick conversation, you know, because you know, if you wake up and you got to go to work in the morning, and you don't got to, you come home and you don't have a parking spot because it's a bunch of film trucks and trailers all over the neighborhood, that could piss you off. But if you know that these shows are bringing in a lot of money to the island, helping the economy of the island, providing lots of jobs. We have 80% of our crew is from the island, you know, so we provide a bunch of jobs. So when shows go away, you know, those are jobs going away. So I want people to work. I want, just like I want to work all the time, I want your family, Ohana, your friends, you know, you want them to work as well. So we have those conversations with the community, the local community, to understand even greater just how awesome it is to have this opportunity, that a show that can last as long as a Magnum PI or as a Hawaii 5-0 or NCIS Hawaii, or whatever shows come here, or TV, like Lilo and Stitch, you know, it's an opportunity for actors and directors and writers and such, but it's also an opportunity for so many people in the community. You know, we employ people, we take over people's businesses, and you know, they get a lot of money for that. So it's a very symbiotic relationship that we all appreciate.
And finally, Stephen Hill, the last question from me to you. For the final 30 seconds, can you enlighten all our audience why they should tune in for season 5 of Magnum PI on channel Sky Max here in Ireland? And Stephen Hill, what's in store for them?
It is probably one of our best seasons so far, right? We originally got canceled in season 4. So I think the writers took that personally, and they said, we're gonna really write our asses off right now. So they wrote beautiful stories for us, and we have been giving those stories to the camera and to the audience and to our Ohana and to our MPIs, as I like to call our fans. And we thank everybody for a beautiful Magnum PI experience.
On that note, for me, Jim Conlan, to the one and only TC, following on the footsteps of the great Roger Mosley, Stephen Hill, who plays TC in Magnum PI. Check him out on channel Sky Max here in Ireland, season 5. But for the moment, from me, Jim Conlan, to you, Stephen Hill, stay safe, take care, and God bless, sir.
God bless.